the Browns are either going to go one of two ways. Right now, they're at a little bit of a fork in the road. And, by the way, this was prefaced by the Super Bowl, and the Browns are trying to get to the Super Bowl. Let's not make any mistake about that. However, they have to determine what their route to the Super Bowl is. Do you try to immediately fix the problem, bring in a veteran quarterback and build the roster up around him? Or do you take a step back for a year or two, build back up that roster, maybe trade some of your best assets, and then draft a rookie in the first round, lose some of your veterans, some of that money comes off the cap, and then you're rebuilding the roster with a younger roster, and you're supplementing with draft picks, and then maybe in 2 or 3 years from now you're ready to go at that Super Bowl again.
And I think that if I were to take a deep Podesta angle on this,
I don't think he's going to be around anymore.
But a mathematical approach on this, all right? So when you look at logically that you overinvested in somebody who didn't pan out, and you got starved of draft picks to be able to build that around. Like the obvious thing is to say, okay, well, there's my void right there. Is I new blood into the system I was deprived of, and it put a lot of pressure on the ones that weren't part of that, the more ancient players on the squad. But so that's what I would do. I would accumulate the shit out of draft picks, put the old quarterback to bed, and then make it a 3-year plan to be able to bounce back from that.
And I kind of lean towards that, because I would rather this team. I'm sort of in the trade Myles, get 2 first rounders or a first, a second, and maybe next year's first round pick for him, and build your roster up that way. Maybe you trade some other veterans that are expensive but aging, and then you supplement with youth, and then like you said, you build that for down the road for the next 2-3 years.
And here's the biggest hurdle: like once you swing and miss on a big package like that for a quarterback, the next time you want to do that, let's just say somebody became available and the brass said, hey, let's make this, like, everybody's gonna say no freaking way, because I'm gonna get fired if I miss twice.
Here's the thing with the Deshaun Watson thing. Well, and here's the thing with Andrew Berry. Do you want to be the guy that trades for Deshaun Watson and trades away Myles Garrett? I don't know if you can keep your job after that. No, you know what I'm saying?
Not at all.
So I don't know what he's thinking. He's a lot smarter than I am, but I don't think that would be a good look for a GM. So, but you got to do what you got to do to win.
But if you get something absurd for the trade, that's all the difference. If you get equal value, then no way, keep them under contract.
And this Super Bowl was a perfect example of Jalen Hurts. Okay, Jalen Hurts was, I believe, a 2nd-round quarterback. He was benched at Alabama, replaced by Tua, ended up transferring to Oklahoma, and then came to the Philadelphia Eagles and won the job there, I believe, in his 2nd year. But he has taken the Eagles to 2 Super Bowls in 3 years. Is he the best quarterback in the league? No, but they have built that roster around him in the run game. They've given him some dynamic receivers. He's got a really good tight end. And what's the strength of that team? They have the best defensive line in football. So that is what did it. You look on the other side of the coin, Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs, not really that great of receivers. Kelsey, we know, is a good tight end, but he's getting up there. I could see him retiring or playing maybe 1 more year, and their defense is pretty solid. So you got good quarterbacks on both, but you have no one's going to argue Jalen Hurts is better than Patrick Mahomes. But Patrick Mahomes didn't have the time to throw the ball in this game. Jalen Hurts made some plays with his legs. I think he rushed for the most yards in the Super Bowl, but the defense was also keying on Saquon Barkley, who is more of like your explosive big play running back, but you also have those threats outside at receiver with Brown and with Devontae Smith, and you got Dallas Goedert as a good tight end. The Eagles are just a loaded roster, and there's 2 different ways to look at that. So the Browns go, we got to try to nail the quarterback, or do you go, with like a Patrick Mahomes type, which who knows, maybe you do, maybe you don't. People forget Patrick Mahomes too was like, I think he was the 10th or the 11th or the 12th pick in the draft. It's not like he went 1st or 2nd. So you can get these guys, but when they're there, you got to get it. You got to hit it. And that's why the Browns have the 1st or the 2nd pick in the draft this year if they identify one of those guys as the quarterback of the future, I think you have to take them. So, and if you don't, then you take either the best player or you trade back. So we'll plenty of Browns questions, and we'll get into that.
Well, and I really like over the last couple of years, they fetched some veteran wide receivers, $1 or $2 million for a 1-year deal, and they performed when at that level. So let's just say you fill all your holes with a couple of those veterans, get you through the year with something that's a 500 season, and then you have time to be able to buy your way into something that's you're a playoff contender or more.
Yeah, and there's so many routes and so many options and so many decisions that have to be made. And I'm glad I'm not the person doing it because I have my ideas. And although you could say me and you or fan X could have made some better choices along the road, and most people back then would have said, oh, and let me go back real quick to the Deshaun Watson point. If you swing and miss on a quarterback, that's one thing, because at least you're trying. But the only reason he became available was the off the field stuff. And that has to linger over this fan base, because, you know, you're kind of giving up some moral authority there. You're kind of giving up on, it's like so hard to root for the Browns now because, you know, we were the lovable losers for a while. Everybody felt like, you know, oh, they're fun underdog. And then we got good. And then it's like, you know, this team's fun. This team, you know, and then all of a sudden you bring in Watson and it's like, you know, I kind of feel dirty. I don't like rooting for this team, blah, blah, blah.
Almost like Ray Lewis was for it blemishes your brand.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. But Ray Lewis is a Hall of Famer, and he played like it from when before that happened to after that happened. But Deshaun Watson seemingly has lost it up here, and he's had 2 major injuries as well. So,
well, Ray Lewis was running from the law, so that was his job, is to run hard because he find prison.